Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel No Networks. In today's session, we will see IP address class. First of all, we will understand why do we need to classify the IP addresses. See, the IP address management is required because there are around 4.3 billion of IP addresses worldwide. Managing all these IP addresses without any scheme is next to impossible. Let's understand this by taking a simple example. If you have to find a word from a language dictionary, how long would you take? Usually, you would take less than 5 minutes to find out that particular word. You are able to do this because words in dictionary are organized in alphabetical order. If you have to find same word from a dictionary which is not in a proper organized order, how long you would take a time to find it? It may take up to a week time or even more to find that specific word from an organized dictionary. If organized dictionary which roughly contain 1 billion word can take 5 minutes task in a 1 week task, then how nearly 4.3 billion addresses will make a search task complicated if they are unorganized? The classification of IP addresses into the classes is the management and assignment. For easier management and assignment, IP addresses are organized in numeric order and divided into 5 following classes: Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class E. Class A has a IP address starting address 0.0.0 to ending address 127.255.255.255. Class B starting address is 128.0.0.0 to ending address 191.255.255.255. Class C starting address is 192.0.0.0 to 223.255.255.255. Class D starts from 224.0.0.0 up to 239.255.255.255. And finally, the Class E IP address start from 240.0.0.0 to 255.255.255.255. So the range of IP addresses we have seen that, and each class has a range of valid IP addresses. The value of the first octet determines the class. So whatever IP address is, the first octet will determine the class of that IP address, whether it belongs to class A, class B, class C, and so on. For example, 0 to 127 determines the range of class A IP address. 128 to 191 determines the class B IP address range. 192 to 223 determines the class C IP address range. 224 to 239 determines the class D IP address range. 240 to 255 determines the class E IP address range. IP address from the first three classes, class A, class B, and class C, can be used for host addresses. Other two are used for other purposes, like class D is used for multicast and class E is used for experimental purpose. How the classes were created. As we have learned in our first tutorial that IP address is a combination of network ID and the host ID. In each IP address, few bits are reserved for network address. The classes were created based on the network size. If you can see in the example 192.168.30.170, where the first from the first octet you can see that 192 it belongs to class C address, where network ID is 192.168.32 and the host ID to be 170. So in class A, we can see from the picture that in class A, first 8 bits are reserved respectively for the network addresses, which give in the subnet mask of /8 or 255.0.0.0. In class B, first 16 bits are reserved respectively for the network addresses, which give you the subnet mask of /16 or 255.255.0.0. In class C, first 24 bits are reserved respectively for network addresses, which give you the subnet mask of /24 or 255.255.255.0. So for the smaller number of network and large number of hosts, class A was created, class C was created for numerous network with small number of hosts. Let's see the example to find a class of three different IP addresses. If you can see on the screen, it is the examples. We have taken a three different IP addresses as an example. The IP address one is 1.2.3.4. The second IP 191.200.100.1, and the third IP is 192.168.1.1. So to find a class of IP addresses, simply pay attention on the first octet. Let's start with 1.2.3.4. If the value of first octet is in 1 to 127 range, it is a class A IP address. So the IP address 1.2.3.4 belongs to class A. If the value of the first octet is in the range of 128 to 191, it is a class B IP address. So the IP address 191.200.100.1 belongs to class B. If the value of the first octet is in the range of 192 to 223, it is a class C IP address. And of course, the last IP example, 192.168.1.1 belongs to class C IP address. This is the example chart, and the starting address, ending address, and the classes are being defined for your understanding. So I believe now you have a better understanding on classes of the IP address. So guys, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please subscribe my YouTube channel and do share with your friends. See you in the next video where we will be having a discussion on public IP addresses and private IP addresses. Thank you once again.